On the off chance that this might help anyone, so I've been having a bit of trouble with my shark shield here. So I did a bit of fault finding, and it turns out that these, as you can see here, these were all corroded inside. So that was no good. And as you probably know, Shark Shield is now out of business at the end of 2024. So we've got to do a bit of DIY. To get the electrodes out, we need to undo the two little nuts that you find in these top sections, and then you'll be able to access the inners of it to remove the electrodes from here. You just want to mark it somehow like that, and then mark the electrode just so they don't get mixed up. It probably doesn't even really matter that much. And then we're going to have a crack at trying to fix it. This is the nut here that you'll need to remove, and you can see it's a round nut. I just found this circlip tool here, and that was able to spin it around and get it off. Let's just use our imaginations here. It'll kind of look like this when you pull it out. There's the bit where you chopped it. We just yank that out, yank, and then go ahead and put a nut on the end just to protect the thread, and then we'll pop that into the vise and hold onto it. So it's held firmly in the vise like that. I got a hammer and just grabbed onto it with some pliers, and I know this is bad for tools, banged it up like that, and then it came off. And then what I did was, you can see there, I've sort of pushed it out a bit. I just went along with the edge of the vise and I flared it out a bit more, sort of opened it up so it's basically square. I just went through with a drill and then drilled the center out down to a decent depth, and then I found some suitable other wire. I would have liked to have found some form of tinned wire. You can see that stuff's not tinned, it hasn't got that shiny tinned coating on it, but I was just dealing with what I could, and it's already, I'm just going to put this down in through there, pushing it. You can see that in there, you can see it slowly coming through. There we go, it's already come through. So to hold mine in place, I just used a little bit of aluminium rivet and just bashed it into the hole, and it just jammed it in place so it didn't distort the inner terminal too much. Okay, then we just slide it down over the top. Okay, I'm just hitting that little area there with the hammer just to knock it down a bit. Alright, I've just proceeded to cover it in goop, and hopefully that'll keep the water out. We'll go ahead and do the other side now. So we'll dry, there's nowhere for water to get in, so it is looking good. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim that insulation off and expose it. We need to track the factory wiring back until we find some good copper wire, and then go ahead and clean it. I use vinegar and salt, and then baking soda and water, and then finish off with isopropyl to clean it. Here it is here, all cleaned and ready to go. We'll strip this one back about the same distance, then we'll put it in this little guy, and then we'll crimp it with this, and we're in business. And same deal as before, I'm going to fill it up with this Sikaflex. I'm just going to jam it in there with this half a peg. Alright, let's do it. So I think I've plopped enough of that stuff on there. Alright, fingers crossed guys. Wait about 12 hours and then I'll reassemble it and tidy up the wires. The reason I'm using these particular crimps and filling them like this, I've had great success doing this in areas like the bilge of my boat where it's just submersed over time, and hopefully it works in this application. Okay, so I think I'm going to give it a bit of a test. Also, if you're having trouble with your shark shield not turning on, apparently this little magnet in here can cause troubles too. So if that little magnet in there is cooked, you can try a little rare earth magnet off your fridge and see if that helps. So even with this off, if you put that little magnet towards the side that it's meant to be on, like this, it will turn on. So using that, you can go ahead and use your testers on each one of these contacts here. So that's how you tell if it's not the shark shield. You could probably do that with it. You could also do that with your multimeter. Alright, if my board wasn't working, what I would do is I'd go ahead and go to a place that works on mobile phone boards and see if they could do something. I had a guy at Newcastle that could easily do stuff like this because the componentry was so big, it was pretty easy for them to do. So I would try that if your board is dead. Alright guys, so what we've got is repaired and joined these wires here, and we still didn't have any luck. We know that we are actually getting a bit of zapping force down there, so one of the wires is corrupted. So we're just going to take apart our dangly electrode bit, and to do that we have a little screw here. We just simply undo that like this. I'm just using my thumbnail there just to put a bit of upward pressure while I undo the screw so it doesn't sit there forever. And there we go. So there's the screw out, and then we can pull this sleeve down. You can see here that I've taped it all off. That's because I've already fixed mine. But we'll just slide that sleeve down. And what you have, when you pull your one apart, it's not going to have tape here. This is because I taped mine back up after I repaired it. So usually there's a bit of heat shrink here. And just carefully slice that. And then you can tape back over that once you've done repairing the section. So I'll just pull this off. So there'd usually be a bit of heat shrink on there. Carefully cut the heat shrink off, and just be cautious not to slice this conduit. Peel that one back, and you can see what we're dealing with here. Just under here, this is where my one was busted. As you can see here, I put a bit of sealant around it. And I taped it up. So, but you can see that the factory wires will come down here in through this little groove, and then it goes under this copper sleeve here, and then the other wire goes down in through the center, and it goes to the bottom of the electrode. I didn't have to repair that one, thankfully, but that one goes down the center. So if it's not this one here, which it likely is because this one's just out in the open, copping it sweet with all the salt water, it's going to be the other one. And what I did here was I just dug out all of the old solder and old wire, and then I replaced my brand new wire straight into there, hit it with a bunch of sealant, and soldered it in the best I could, and then I sealed it back up. If you've sliced and peeled away the insulation gently, you can just tape that straight over the top and then put it back together how you found it. Line up the holes again, place the screw back in like so, and there it is, we're done. There we go. There's your shark shield. It is all fixed now. Should be able to turn it on, and she's a goer. Alright, thanks for watching.